Yeah, and the Italian fashion house Prada, we just mentioned it, will give an indication, basically, of how it's faring. We're going to get that in a few hours' time. Well, and earlier this year, Prada reported a 28% drop in profits. That was for last year. That's nearly 30% drop in profits.
Yeah. Now, the global personal luxury market amounted to $251 billion in 2014. Around 25% of that is clothing and accessories.
Yeah. It's shown remarkable growth, though, over the last couple of decades, gaining more than 300%. Look at that.
But more recently, growth has cooled off, and it now stands at a steady 5% per annum. And that would be fine if it wasn't for China.
Well, yeah, that was true. Last year, luxury spending there dropped for the first time, down 1%, and this year it's expected to slow another percentage point. It's all a result of greater control, certainly, on luxury spending and the recent crackdown. You know, I call it the big Beijing corporate crackdown. It's all about the, cracking down on gift giving in China. Let's get more on all of this. Paul Thomas, Senior Consultant, Retail Remedy, joins us. Victoria, come on, it's your bag. I'll let you...
Yeah. Well, the thing I'm really curious about is what happens to the big fashion houses when it comes to what's going on in the currency markets. We've seen big swings, and the gap between the value of the same handbag in Europe, in Paris, London, for example, it's the widest it's been when it comes to the same handbag in China. And the Asian shoppers, they know this, don't they?
Absolutely, and that's why a number of Asian customers come to the UK and come to Europe in particular to make those purchases. Some brands are now starting to reduce their prices out in the Far East to offset that travel and to really target the customer in their own environment.
So can I just to clarify, slowing in China, but yet we know that the Chinese are the biggest travellers at the moment, and they're the biggest spenders in the world in terms of tourists. They overtook US and Germany a couple of years ago. Last year, the Chinese spent $102 billion abroad. A lot of that money is going on luxury goods, we're saying.
Yeah.
That's right. And you know, the Chinese luxury market has been growing at a huge rate. It's been between 50 and 80% growth year on year for a number of years. But that's now really cooled down to actually between 5 and 9% growth. So that has slowed, and there's a number of reasons for that. I think you mentioned about the sort of the clampdown on gift giving and the corruption and the conspicuous gift giving. So the customer looking for other ways to display wealth and display status within that Chinese market. So that is definitely taking an effect on the figures.
Now, we can't talk about the Chinese without mentioning the Russians, the other big spenders when it comes to luxury items. Obviously, decimation in people's personal savings when it comes to what's happened with the ruble.
The rubble.
The rubble.
That's what they nickname it now.
The rubble.
Right.
So,
you're probably right.
What goes on? I mean, is the Russian market for luxury goods, is it dead, particularly given that we're seeing sanctions when it comes to Western goods, so US and Europe imported goods?
Yes, I think it's been very tough. It's difficult getting money out of Russia now for some of the Russians who live in around the UK and Europe. So it has been a tough time. The ruble has collapsed. It's that their spending power has reduced, and the price of goods now is much more inflated than it was previously. So it is very, very tough.
So the question is, you know, what do they do now when these luxury houses are looking at, you know, slumps of 20, 30% in their profit? They've got to go back and look at the model, and some are suggesting that they're going to take a big look, and they've probably been a long time coming, a bit slow, digital, getting online. But will people really spend that kind of money? You know what I mean? Like if you're spending tens of thousands on a product.
Yeah. You want to see it, don't you?
I think
you want to see
touch it.
Yeah, you do.
I think there'd be a number of things. I think exclusivity would be a really big push again, and craftsmanship and provenance would be really big stories. But I think that the online piece is huge. It's only been 5% of the current luxury market to now, and it's planned to grow to 18% by 2025. So that's going to be a huge increase. But as you say, if you're spending a large sum of money on a piece of fashion or a piece of jewellery, you're going to want to see it and touch it and try it on, etc. And some of these transactions take 3 to 4 weeks to complete. So what I suspect will happen is customers will jet in on their private jets, they come to the hotels, and brands will take product to them, and they'll be maybe making those payments through digital and through mobile devices.
Interesting times ahead for the luxury market.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Paul, for coming in.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Paul. Okay.